So the first one is Stephen Smith.
Well, I'm sure everybody knows why I'm here, but I went to the Cuba Lake, threats of Tecuba Lake. You know, they went over the one of the topics was left in Salmon Creek. And a lot of the hippies or the awesome advocates, they said they had a lot of trouble with understanding how the building permit just kind of flowed right through here, you know, because, you know, they just don't understand anything about it as bad news. So, you know, I have to remind everybody, in 1972, it was the awesome advocates or the environmentalists or whatever stopped a nuclear power plant from being in Lansing. I'm sure it wasn't the people in Lansing, so you can't totally write those people off. But anyways, I've got a prepared statement from the Citizens for a Lead-Free Salmon Creek. Okay, here we go. Hopefully I can read it okay. Okay. As citizens, we rely on our elected representatives to keep us informed of the issues that we believe are important to the town. We attend meetings when these items are on the agenda so we can keep abreast of these issues. And like myself, we watch the town meetings that are provided online. Recently, some of us attended the October 3rd meeting of the town board with the agenda item update on the Lansing rod and gun. We listened attentively at the meeting as questions were asked about the permit request, including any associated stormwater plans. We listened to our supervisor and town attorney say there are no applications pending that I'm aware of the submission. There's no applications that I'm aware of the submissions concerning stormwater. If the DEC approves the SWPP for the Lansing rod and gun, they will still need zoning permit or whatever. And then it was asked, when asked the next step might be, our supervisor responded, they would need to apply for a building permit. You can imagine our surprise on October 17th when we learned that the building permit request was actually submitted September 28, 2018, 6 full days before the October 3rd meeting. And we learned that the town had issued by the zoning officer determination about this. We learned that he issued a building permit. Okay, as citizens, we feel that we were purposely misled on October 3rd as those who were asking questions on our behalf. We believe the permit application being highly controversial in our town would have been reported immediately, and given the legal implications for the town, would have been relayed to the Lansing town attorney. Hence, we think we were purposely kept in the dark, and that the responses to our board members' questions were terribly misleading at best, and what some are calling misleading or lying. Is that 3 minutes? Okay, I'm just calling
It is 3 minutes.
It is 3 minutes.
I got just one last little class. At this point, we are calling this a misrepresentation or lying. At this point, we wonder what other misinformation is withheld from some of our board members. We would hope the entire board would review how this information was shared. So, if it didn't make any sense of that, I'll submit this card back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have John Berger. Good evening.
I would like to also speak about the same issue, and my esteemed colleague back there, Gay Nicholson, also be talking about this. I think it's almost necessary to see these comments together, as well as anyone else is making comments on this topic. It's kind of complicated, but also not complicated, and I think it's really important that we only have 3 minutes here. Can I submit written comments later about this?
Absolutely.
I feel like this is, you can see, it seems kind of like we're forced to speak blah 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 about something that's obviously very important to us. So first, I want to say, how far back do you want to go talking about this? And I've been researching this, and I researched it back to the 1790s when trap shooting first began in the United States. And I learned this online that originally live pigeons were used for trap shooting, and they used passenger pigeons. And this website said at that time passenger pigeons were very plentiful. So that's kind of like the going back to the the good old days. But I want to jump to 2017 and talk about the gun club submits again in 2017 a plan to the planning board and consider a plan that they have. And the planning board, my understanding, thought that it was very confusing and incomplete. And so it just sort of, things just didn't seem to go anywhere for a while. And then on June 20th, and I have a letter right here from Barclay Gaiman, the law firm Barclay Gaiman, which is representing the gun club, says that they're indicating that the intent of the club is to flip its existing trap shooting range area with its rifle pistol range area, and that for that and another reason that a SUP, which is a special use permit, is not needed. So basically, the argument is that there's no plan, there's no problem. And I think at that time it seemed like some people thought that there was a problem and that people were kind of uneasy with this. So that's what I thought people were saying, and people on the town board were saying that. It's not just some of us neighbors and people who live in the community were saying that. I think it was seen as a general thing. So I want to jump now to September 10th. I'm going to have to not be able to read the stuff that I wanted to read from this letter, but on September 10th, Mr. Crow said that, this is a letter to the EPA, which I think we're missing something. We're missing a letter from the EPA to Mr. Crow, saying that a variance would be needed if there were a site plan application. And he says in number 6 of this letter, which I'm sure you have this letter, maybe, I'm not sure who has this letter, and who can read this letter. I think the public might be interested in seeing it. He saw no reason to do anything because the club had withdrawn their application. And quote, I had thought that logic was shared by the Rod and Gun Club and its representative. Of course it was shared by them, it was their logic. So this to me is a very peculiar statement. And if I'm running out of time, I just want to say that I've seen a lot of movies where there are TV shows where there are lawyers on both sides. I've never yet seen one where there's a lawyer representing a person or town trying to defend them against whether it's hog lagoons or uranium mining or maybe something like lead contamination, and the person protecting or representing the industry says, opening statement, we see no problem with this. And then the lawyer that's supposed to be there for the town, being paid by the town, turns to the people in the town and says, well, they just said there's no problem, there's nothing we can do. So I feel like it's almost as simple as that. I mean, the language that's being used by Mr. Linde is precisely the language that's in this letter, which is dated June 20th, 2018. And he says, quote, this is purely based on my interpretation. And he changes a couple of words. It is plagiarism, but he's changed a couple of words from what they say is flipping. He used the term swapping. He used the exact same thing, and he ends by saying that therefore there's no need for a permit. If I can go through one more thing, as I know my time is running out, but hopefully our time when we have a zoning board of appeals is not going to be running out. The DEC, this is to me an example, I thought of this expression, reverse perverse engineering. Reverse perverse engineering. In cases including, this is the DEC, in cases involving substantial modification to a project, DEC, may decide that a renewal or modification will be treated as a new action. Let's keep that in mind. Then they say, a decision by an agency to deny, permit, or conditionally permit is subject to a seeker. Subject to a seeker. If there's no permit, obviously there can't be any seeker. So to me, this is pernicious, and I feel like you folks, Mr. Crow, you have some legal finesse here, I know. But I really,
thank you.
I really request.
Thank you, Mr. Berger.
Yeah,
We gave you 5 minutes. We gave you 2 more minutes. If you
All
want
right.
to give us some summation,
I
we
will
would
be.
appreciate it. Okay?
I'll be doing that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next is Gabe Nicholson.
Yes, I also would like to read a statement in the record. As citizens and taxpayers in Lansing, we want to be able to trust that our needs and concerns matter, regardless of who is elected or hired with our tax dollars to do a job. We want to trust that person to work toward protecting the entire community, especially when it comes to public health. This is a basic element of our democracy. Even more vital than the health of children is put at risk. People agree to participate in a democratic system when they feel that the collection of agreements that make up that system are shared by all, especially the principles and values underlying that system. We are interested in collaborating to find a solution that works for everyone on the matter of the gun club. But transparency is the value that most supports collaboration, and that has been lacking, especially in the past month. Back in March, when the planning board hearing was held, and as recently as the September 5th board meeting, we had the impression that the board and staff shared our concerns about the impacts of toxic lead waste on public health and local wildlife. Citizen volunteers made the effort to provide you with reading materials to familiarize yourself with the issue of lead toxicity at gun ranges. But that sense of shared purpose around protecting public health evaporated in October when the town's code officer, attorney, and supervisor failed to be transparent about a radical shift toward enabling the gun club's choice to continue poisoning the neighborhood, groundwater, and the stream corridor with more tons of lead pollution. The rationale for issuing that new permit, as explained by the code officer and town attorney, as John noted, is very similar to that offered by the gun club's attorney when they withdrew their first widely opposed permit application back in June. Unfortunately, this leaves the impression that our supervisor, attorney, and code officer have been working directly with the gun club on a solution that most certainly does not work for everyone. You know, again, we are interested in a solution that works for everybody involved, but we're not currently on a path toward that goal. For several years now, the gun club's neighbors in Loveville and others concerned with the health of the Salmon Creek watershed have advocated that the gun club accept the simple solution offered by the EPA, which was switch to steel shot. The club would not have to clean up their existing toxic waste. They would not have the expense of moving their track ranges. They would be able to continue to enjoy the social aspects of their club without the expense and discord of lawsuits. They would not face the impossible task of complying with the EPA's required periodic lead removal from a steep slope adjacent to the creek. And the members of the club would not face the condemnation and anger of their Lansing neighbors that they have betrayed by choosing to double down on their toxic legacy. Our goal is to find a solution that works for everyone and to restore working trust between our town government and the full community. We would like to see an outcome that does not permanently pit gun club members against the rest of the community. But if the gun club refuses to pursue a win-win solution, we expect that our town government and the town attorney to develop and implement a legal strategy that is more than just trying to avoid being sued by an NRA-backed law firm. We want to see a legal strategy that aggressively defends public health and reduces our collective long-term risk and liability. We ask that the full town board conduct a thorough investigation into the events surrounding the issuance of this building permit, accessing outside legal assistance as necessary to determine how exactly the public's trust in our collective ability to safeguard community health and well-being can be restored.
Okay, thank you. Next is Lisa Mazika.
I was at October 3rd town board meeting. At that meeting, I spoke about how secretive the Rod Gun Club was, about their intentions after they had cleared 2 acres of land, how uncomfortable Tim and I were living next door wondering what they were going to do. I had asked if the town had any knowledge of their plans. We were told that they submitted a stormwater plan that was with the town engineer for consideration. Tim asked what the process was, because we heard over and over again there was a process. We had to wait. There was a process. We just had to be patient. We had to wait. So Tim said, had asked, what is the process if this plan were approved? We were told they have to apply for a building permit, then they would have to go through zoning. October 17th, bombshell at the town board meeting. We learned the Rod and Gun Club submitted a site plan on the 28th of September. That's what Lynn Day said. I thought the town reminded me of the Rod and Gun Club. Very secretive, not sharing information with the public. It's hard to believe Lynn did not relay this to someone on the town board. It was 6 days before the 3rd of October meeting. On the 17th of October, Lynn said, pretty much, the Rod and Gun Club could do whatever they wanted, because his interpretation of Article 10, specifically Section 1.5.3, that this was not a new club. Moving their shooting range across the creek, up the road, to creating another shooting range, 2 shooting ranges. Shooting into a steep hillside, not a bank, as Lynn called it. Putting up 2 10 feet by 10 feet trap houses and a warming house. In my interpretation, and many others, is a new club. They are not creating a smaller footprint, as Lynn claims, when they are going to shoot lead into a new area. This leaves Tim and I and others in a really threatening situation. No inspections of this new club site. How will we ever know they are 500 feet from our shed? And will they be allowed to shoot 5 days a week, 3 days a week, whenever they feel like it, put up lighting at night? No one knows. Because this town has permitted them to do whatever they want.
Okay, thank you. Tim Farrell?
My name's Tim Farrell, and I'm trying to live at 101 Salmon Creek Road in Leadville. I'd just like to say I am outraged at the treatment that Lisa and I have received at the hands of this board, and particularly the supervisor. We were told that the board had to be careful not to show a bias. So it was that things could only be said that had to go through the process, and the process had to run its course. On October 3rd, I asked what the process was, and Ed, you told me that the board had to wait for the gun club to apply for a permit. At the risk of sounding redundant, they already had, and I believe you knew it. So it looks like the lack of bias is out the window. Before the October 17th meeting, Lynn Day called me at home and asked if Lisa and I could arrive early at the town board meeting, as he had a map he wanted to show us. Lisa was unable to come, so I showed up, and I was shown a map with the new plan for the gun club's new track field. It was pointed out to me that they had reoriented the field and aimed it farther to the east into a steep slope wooded bank. I was shown a line on the map that was drawn in a radius 500 feet from the corner of our house that showed the firing line was just over 500 feet from our house. However, I've measured on that map, and it would appear that our shed and our propane tank are within 500 feet of where they'll be shooting. I wondered why Lynn was showing me that map, because it turns out he wasn't interested in any input because he'd already approved a permit. The orientation is I'm firing into a wooded hillside, and I just wonder how in 5 years they plan to remove the topsoil and recover the lead. You know, the manner in which we've been misdirected and lied to when you conspired with the gun club is the very definition of bias. And I'd like to thank you for that.
Anyone else that wants to have privilege of the floor tonight before we close up?
Done 20 minutes. You have done 20 minutes, just so you know.
I'm sorry?
It has been open for 20 minutes.
Okay, we'll close it. Move
Is
on
there
to the
anybody
next.
who's been missed?
Pardon me?
We have the ability to extend if someone has not had a chance to speak. Correct.
Well, once again, I set the ground rules, and to avoid potential for chaos, you know, I've got to ask other people, 20 minutes are up. If you want to submit their, if they want to submit any written, they're obviously welcome to do that.
But I want to be fair. We gave some people some extra minutes, and we shouldn't give those extra minutes at the cost of somebody else who hasn't
I'll
spoken.
keep it open if they want.
So I don't know if
Anybody else?
anybody was missed.
Try to be courteous, they're
Yeah.
not coming off in 3 minutes.
I know, I just want to check.
Finish.
No, you had plenty, thank you, sorry.
So I think
We're
we've
fine, yes.
exhausted that. On that note, then we will close the privilege of the floor. Our next item, Guy, do you want to speak about this?